ran out of money. It was designed by Charles Cockerell in 1826 as a memorial to the Scottish that fell in the Napoleonic Wars. But it was a very expensive Scottish granite, so only 12 pillars were completed. It's rumoured that Glasgow, the rival city on the other side of Scotland, offered to pitch in and give them some money to complete it, but Edinburgh wouldn't do that. They wouldn't get any money from Glasgow, they weren't interested. So the memorial is unfinished. It's the national monument. Okay, Nelson Monument here has a time ball that will drop at 1 o'clock. Okay, so the ships in Leith Harbour can set the chronometers, and that times with the 1 o'clock gun, which fires every day but Sunday from the castle at 1 o'clock. And the time ball drops at 1 o'clock. When we get to the top, you'll be able to look over Leith Harbour, where the Royal Yacht Britannia, the Queen's private yacht, which was retired in 1997, is now at a berth. And if you look in the distance, you can see Norway. Yeah, all that's Norway. No, it's more of Scotland. Yeah, this is the Firth of Forth, which is the estuary of the River Forth. We're going to follow the Forth Valley tomorrow for the first part of the tour, and as we finish the tour we'll go over the Forth Road Bridge and parallel to the famous Forth Railway Bridge, which was built in 1890, the huge 3 cantilevers, a very famous bridge. You can even see a bit of it around the corners, but the better view will be tomorrow. You see that tiny bit of a bridge in the distance? We'll cross that tomorrow on our way back from the Highlands. Which one are we looking at now? So, Hibernian. Heart of Midlothian, Hibs is here. That's Hibs.
They've got football, right?
Yeah, about football. So that's Hibernian, and then Heart of Midlothian, those are the 2 Edinburgh teams. Yeah, Scottish Premier. And Glasgow's 2 main teams are Rangers and Celtic, yeah. So Hibs and Palace of Westminster. This is 240 feet high, the tallest spire in Edinburgh. Okay, the Highland Tolbooth Kirk. Services were done here in Gaelic, especially after the clearings when a lot of the Highlanders moved down here. But of course, they don't. The Church of Scotland doesn't maintain buildings if no one goes to them anymore. So it's sell them off. 1800. But the inside, the interior, very much like it would have been in the 17th century, and it now houses the Advocate and Signet Library and Magistrates' Courts. But it was the home of the Scottish Parliament until 1707.
Why did it move down?
It moved down from the castle to more appropriate buildings. So when you go into the Parliament, the old Parliament rooms in the castle, you'll see that they were quite small, and so they decided to build a new square in the 17th century. But as I say, for reasons I explained earlier, it was known as the Darien Affair, when they invested heavily in Central America and lost their fortunes. All the businessmen lost their fortunes. They said the only way out of this mess is to merge with the English Parliament and establish a united kingdom. And yeah, they've been milking a bit of money off the English ever since. But anyway, we did get the North Sea oil. But you see, it was to unify was the only way forward for the businessmen of Scotland, whereas the people didn't want it. Largely didn't want it. And resistance continued, especially when they lost King James VII of Scotland, James II of England, who was forced into exile.
Edinburgh Castle now. See the Great British flag there, Union Jack, which I don't know why I didn't really realize this before, but it's basically just a combination of the England flag and the Scotland flag.
And I have both copies of the first book.
So this is the entrance to Edinburgh Castle here, and you can see Robert the Bruce and William Wallace, 2 of the stars of the movie Braveheart. Apparently, back in those days, people, other than the ones in the Highlands, didn't really wear kilts or anything like that, so that was just kind of a thing for the movie. But so anyway, that's what William Wallace would have really been dressed like back in those days. And it's raining like crazy, so I'm going to stop taking videos. Now at Edinburgh Castle. We actually could have gotten priority tickets from our tour guide yesterday, but we waited because we thought we could get a student discount because the sign said they had concessions. So we were waiting in line over there, but apparently it's only for senior citizens, so oh well. We're in now. We should have plenty of time before we have to head back to the train to London.
Okay then. one of the questions we always get asked, how old is Edinburgh Castle? And in fact, where we stand, during excavation work being carried out right here, back in the 1980s, they were finding Roman and Bronze Age artifacts. So we know for at least 3,000 years, people have been living on this volcanic rock. And in fact, this is where Edinburgh started. This is where the town around the city. Beyond the town, you see the water. This is the Firth of Forth. And the Firth, that's the old Scots Gallic word for estuary of River Mann. This is the River Forth, 25 miles east. That's the North. Scots Irish.
So apparently they don't fire the gun on Sundays, so I'll have to live without that. Oh well.
Yes, Dutch, French, Irish, Spanish, everyone. Have the cup in there, yeah? Adesso te lo metti. Ne was a lot.
So out in this section that we've been in, no army has ever taken this section by force, only by siege, or actually there was a Scotsman that stormed the castle with 30 people to take it by stealth at night, and apparently killed 300 English soldiers in the process, who were probably drunk and asleep. But this is up at the top where it gets flat. We're now basically in the center of the castle. He said it's the most important part of the castle, but we can see why that is. So. This is the banqueting hall. That ceiling is all original wood. There was no metal used, no screws or any brackets or anything like that. It's all just hammered in joints that have held for centuries and centuries. Did he say when it was? But anyway, it was built by ship makers, and it was just the whole of the ship built upside down. Hundreds and hundreds of years. Swords going the whole way around. So we did our little tour of the inner part of the castle. So we saw the Scottish crown jewels and the stone that, what do they call it again? The stone that they put under the
Stone of Destiny.
Stone of Destiny. That every time a British monarch is crowned, they put that stone underneath the seat. It used to be kind of an insult to Scotland, but now it's just part of the process. So Queen Elizabeth set the stone back up here in, I think it was 96 or 97 on St. Andrew's Day. So it's now kept here, but it's still taken down for coronations. So they're setting up these seats for, it's called the tattoo, so they have like the Scotch military do kind of a presentation here, and they do fireworks and everything, but this is the Half Moon Battery for obvious reasons, with all the cannons going around. These cannons, I'm not sure if this was on the video earlier, but these actually wouldn't have been the cannons they would use in the castle because they're built for a ship. But anyway, they're just kind of here to demonstrate what these little cavities in the battery would be for. So. Please do not climb on Monsoneg. This is the giant cannon that our tour guide was talking about. It can shoot like a 330-pound cannonball 2 miles. I think it's gigantic.
Mom, take the jacket. Mom, take the jacket.
This is not a place you'd want to be standing. It's the national monument, unfinished national monument we saw
You know what? That's
First day
actually
here.
really
What's that? Where's the dog cemetery? Oh yeah.
They like carried the casket.
They were
like
scamps.
the soldiers, like little dog guys
Little dog
carrying the
cemetery.
casket.
Little soldiers' dogs. That's the cannon that they normally shoot every day at 1. They've been doing that for hundreds of years now, but we just happened to be here on a Sunday, so we didn't get to see it. But. Oldest building in the castle. I think he said it's actually the oldest building in Edinburgh. Which makes sense. It's too bad they got that silly crane in the way to set up those seats, because there's actually a really cool view of the hillside over there. Those cliffs. You wanna go climb that? You got time.
Took content away with the crane.
So just to view the other side of that, of the war memorial.
Okay then, here we are. This is Crown Square, the most important part of Edinburgh Castle, because it's here that we keep the Scottish crown jewels. But in the centuries gone past, in times of trouble, the kings and queens of Scotland, they would come here to be safe. This was the safest castle in Scotland. This was the safest place in the kingdom. The first building in the square, huge building over here, and this is the Scottish National War Memorial. This is built on the site of a medieval church, but they opened this in 1927 to commemorate all the Scottish soldiers who were killed in the First World War, 1914 to 1918. When you walk in the central doorway ahead, you will see the shrine. This is a huge marble altar, and the altar sits on the highest part of the Edinburgh Castle volcanic rock. The rock actually comes up through the floor. On top of the altar, a steel casket. And inside the casket, there is a roll of honour, and this contains the names of all these Scottish soldiers, about 150,000. The war, as they said at that time, to end all wars, we know it wasn't. So every Scottish soldier, since 1914, right up to the present day, killed in active service anywhere around the world, their names are still being added to the books within the Hall of Remembrance. That's the newest building in the square. This is the oldest building in the square. And this is the Great Hall, or the Banqueting Hall. King James IV had this built, and he also had the Great Hall at Stirling Castle built. And that was in 1503 to celebrate his marriage to Margaret Tudor.